talked about those New York Knicks up in Manhattan. Let's go down to Brooklyn and chop it up about those Nets. They won last night 108-102 in New Orleans against the Pelicans. They're now 26-13, second in the Eastern Conference. Big night for KD, 33 points. Admittedly, a kind of mixed night for KD as well, as him and Kyrie Irving missed a combined 32 shots. It didn't matter. Big three for Kai late in the game really helped put Brooklyn over the top. They were exceptional on defense in the second half. TJ Warren added 15 points for those Nets as well. This is a team that has been on a roll as of late, especially after starting the year 2-6. So much turmoil with Kyrie Irving. I am happy to be here with the Nets beat reporter at WFUV Sports, Will Grant, my co-host on this given show. Man, this must have been a crazy ride for you to watch firsthand at that center.
Crazy ride is such an understatement, Colin. I mean, you walk into there, Steve Nash, shocked to see him, two-time MVP. Little did I know that was the last time I'd ever see him, in my life probably. Who comes in to relieve them? Jacque Vaughn. I mean, who is this guy? We know he's under the Popovich coaching tree. Coached the Magic, didn't do too well in the bubble. I don't know. Let's just see how he rides out. 17-2 in their last 19, Colin. Who would have guessed that? I mean, 17-2, that's unbelievable in the NBA when you get down to that. So what he's done there, essentially from what I've seen, is build a culture. He's showed that KD and Kyrie can relate to these younger guys, the Nick Claxton of the world, the Royce O'Neal, the Ben Simmons, who was an absolute problem. He's molded everyone together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. None of them are really going to do anything without each other if they don't buy into what Jacque Vaughn has. Jacque Vaughn is the man putting everything together, I guess, as a part of the jigsaw puzzle, I guess. But he's really doing something that you don't really see. And San Antonio coach Greg Popovich, who was his coach, his mentor, his colleague for a while, now coaching against him, he just says, this guy, we've known for a while. This is what he's going to get into. We knew that this would come for him. 17-2 now with this Nets team that nobody thought would be good this year, considering all of the turmoil off the court. I mean, he turned things around, and I just can't believe it right now.
I spoke about this the last time I was on one-on-one, and Will, I do want to get your thoughts in a minute. Jacque Vaughn is probably the single-handedly most confident person in the NBA right now, because he was not even the Nets' first choice for this job. So if you're Jacque Vaughn and you walk into this situation, you're like, what do I have to lose? I think that's what this run is based on. No one has anything to lose anymore. No one's going to dislike Kyrie Irving any more now than they already did a couple months ago. And he's balling out. And if anything, now this team is more likable because it's like the island of misfit toys is coming together and forming this really great cohesive unit. The leader of which is Jacque Vaughn. He said in that opening press conference, I'm not sure I was even my wife's first choice. I wasn't the Nets' first choice. They wanted Ime Udoka. They were ready to jump ship. They wanted more controversy. You know who should get no credit for this is Sean Marks. Talk about someone who got very lucky. Mm-hmm. It's Sean Marks right now. He's just sitting at home. He didn't do anything. Now, some may argue him not doing anything was actually doing something by keeping this bunch together when many people said, blow it up, it's over. Ben Simmons is productive now. 10 assists last night. The things that he can do to help this team are exactly what they need. He can facilitate. He can rebound. Yeah, he's not scoring 20 a game. He doesn't have to. He's got guys around him that can do that. TJ Warren as well. The 15 last night. This guy is a professional scorer. I was so high on TJ Warren coming to the Nets. You can ask producer Bridge in the back. He hosted a show with me during the summer. I had said I thought the Nets would reach the Eastern Conference Finals right after they got swept by the Celtics. And everyone thought I was crazy at that time. I'm not looking so crazy now because they added pieces that complement what's there already. Will, this Nets turnaround has been remarkable in my estimation. Now, I'm interested to see where it goes, too.
Yeah, I'm also really impressed with Jacque Vaughn and how he's put this together. And obviously, the Nets, they have the players. They have, the material. It's just about making them a cohesive unit. And I think that Jacque Vaughn has done something that I don't think a lot of people thought he would do in getting all these pieces to work together. And now, Kyrie is putting up, numbers that we're used to seeing from Kyrie back in his, Cavs days. KD is just going to be KD. Ben Simmons, I mean, I do feel like he could score a bit more. Yeah, he's getting his rebounding and his facilitating in, but I feel like he could probably help the Nets a little more in that regard because we've seen him do that when he was in Philly, although he doesn't need to. But I feel like down the stretch when it really comes playoff time, when it comes time to play the Nets and not the Nets, the Celtics and the Bucks and teams like that, the Cavs and teams that are in that, in that position to make a deep run in the playoffs, I think that they're going to need Ben Simmons to give them that little push, right? Because they did give up James Harden for Ben Simmons, so they're going to need him to put in some of that scoring that James Harden was originally supposed to be put in there for.
Well, Ben Simmons is in better shape. Well, let's be honest now. Ben Simmons is probably in better shape than James Harden at this given point in time.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in shape. He knows his role. I mean, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden just doesn't work. Just gonna, put that out there. That will never work because
too much ISO ball.
Too much ISO ball. They're all ball hungry. And when you get a guy like Ben Simmons who literally is afraid to shoot the basketball, with these two guys like Kyrie and KD, it's a recipe for success. I'm pretty sure that Jacques Vaughn tells Ben Simmons in practice, when you get the ball, just run up the court and find someone and throw it to them. It's literally insane. He grabs the ball and just starts running. He looks like a spider monkey. It's crazy. He looks a little crazy, but he'll get the passes in. And he's so disciplined with letting Kyrie go off the screen, roll back up, and go. He thinks he's slick. He goes, whoop, a little behind the back, a little drop off to Kyrie, and he makes the three every time. That's what this team has been needing. They don't need James Harden, potentially traveling, potentially drawing an offensive foul every time, and then KD and Kyrie looking at each other saying, why did we bring him here? And Colin, to your point, TJ Warren, that's an example of one of these guys that the Misfit Toys have brought in and said, you're one of our own now. You can play with us. And we have melded everyone together. And Nick Claxton, my God, 6 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 5 blocks. That's his stats in his last 5 games. He leads the league with 4.6 right now, averaging per game blocks. He's a rim protector that they desperately needed. Not that they wanted, but he plays these big minutes and is making his case for one of the best centers in the league. I mean, in terms of a team that has KD and Kyrie, where you can't really afford a center that's like Joel Embiid or anything like that. So he's doing his job, getting boards. It's amazing. And then another guy, Seth Curry, that people thought would not be as good as he is. Fantastic. The game I went to a few weeks ago to cover, forget who they were playing, but he dropped like 37, and he was just absolutely on fire. Once the kid catches fire, that's it. I mean, everybody around him, too, is just real happy. Everyone is just excited about everyone scoring. You see the bench, right? You see the bench. They're all jumping around. Nick Claxton doing his little dance. It's a good environment, guys. That was a mouthful, but it's a great, great environment over there, especially in person. It's absolutely unbelievable.
That's an important point to make. It is different than we thought it would be at this time of the year, especially after KD now infamously says he wants out during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
The popular thought was that, by mid-year, that environment's not going to be too good.
Yeah.
The fact that they fired their coach, they have Jacques Vaughn now, and everyone's happy to be there.
Everyone so
loves
happy.
it. That's really important for this team, and I think the chemistry was something that was in question. You got to love that if you're a Nets fan, seeing that this team genuinely gets along with each other and they're ready to compete each and every night now.
I will say, though, I feel like their chemistry, because they're all still, if you really look at this team, they're all still relatively new to each other. Some of them have played together for a couple of years, but, this team is still relatively new. So I think that as they go along, their chemistry, if this keeps up, that's the key point, if this keeps up, they will start to get better as a unit. But my only thing with the Nets is I would also like to see them, they have star power, obviously, in Kyrie and KD, and that should be enough star power to push you in a really deep playoff run. But I would like to see them add a couple more solid, role players around them. Yes, you have Seth Curry, TJ Warren, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton. But think about that. How many players did we name so far? What is that, 7, 8, right? I would like to see him throw a couple of more players in there. I don't know how they're going to get them, but I would like to see him throw a couple more pieces in there And I think that'll be the final push that they need to move them past a team like the Bucks or Boston and push them into the NBA Finals.
I think they're there. I think you missed Edmund Sumner, Yuta Watanabe, Royce O'Neal. I mean, these guys, Patty Mills. That's there. That's it. It's there.
Markeith.
It's cooking. Markeith. Is Markeith healthy right now?
No,
I think he
he's
might
not.
be out for a little
I
bit.
think he was scratched last night.
But I think
yeah.
they do have these guys that are so you could just substitute them in any time, and it's just you see the numbers here. It's almost every player on this roster besides 4 plays at least 10 minutes a game. How unbelievable is that?
I'll give you one guy that I want them to trade for because
Who?
I do think there's something to be said about maybe offloading a shooter like Joe Harris or Cam Thomas. I think those are the guys you look to offload because I don't think Thomas is necessarily meshing as well.
He's not, and I don't know if you're going to get anything from him, if I'm going to be honest.
Jakob Pertl from the Spurs.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs would do that type of a deal because Cam's got an upside. I think Popovich could see him as a coachable talent. Pertl averaging 9.3 rebounds per game. You get this guy on that Nets team with KD, Kyrie, and the shooters that you do keep. Yuta Watanabe, who has come out of nowhere and had the best three-point percentage in the league for a little while there. Fan favorite in Brooklyn. You put Pertl with those guys. Then they're a step above Milwaukee and a step above Boston, in my mind. That is what's keeping them from being on that level, is having that dominating big. Having someone that can go toe-to-toe with Brook Lopez or Robert Williams III. You don't need him to be better. You just need someone that can go toe-to-toe and give Kyrie and KD space and time to work with. I think Pertl's that guy. He's lengthier than Robin Lopez, which is important.
I saw Pertl play the other day in person when they played the Spurs. They came to Brooklyn, and fantastic player, but that's all the Spurs are really cooking with right now since they got rid of DeJounte. I mean, I feel like it'd be virtually impossible to get him off that roster unless they want to rebuild, which is a good case, but otherwise they're going to be absolutely awful. Jakob Poeltl is their best player at the moment.
I think they offloaded, though, and it was
think so?
Brook Lopez, former Net, was in Milwaukee. Robin no longer.
Oh,
See, I get the Lopez brothers mixed up, but
fair.
I do think San Antonio would be willing to unload because they're in a tank situation right now, and they don't see themselves as competing. Pertl would be a great fit in Brooklyn. I've seen Christian Wood thrown out there as well. I don't think he gives the same effect that someone like a Pertl does. It needs to be a solid big that can also give Claxton some rest time on the bench.
Right.
I mean, Christian Wood, you bring up a good point. That, I feel like, would kind of match something that would really benefit the Nets. I feel like, I'm not too high on Royce O'Neal as, a starter. I think that's a solid bench piece, but I feel like that's something where, like, you need that type of thing where it's like what Jordan Poole or Draymond is for the Warriors, or, I'm just kind of thinking on the spot. I'm having a little bit of difficulty coming up with another good analogy, but I feel like they need that extra kind of boost, similar to what Ben Simmons already gives them. I think they just need another one of those, and I think that'll really be the propeller for them.
The thing that makes me say Pertl over Wood, outside of the size and the physical attributes that I think Pertl might be more complementary, is the fact that San Antonio is 13-26. They are very close to being the last seed in the West. The Mavericks, on the other hand, are fourth in the West. So I don't see them moving off of Wood at this time if they think they can sneak into the finals. Because if Dallas gets in and they play a Boston in the finals, the Mavs have a chance in that series with Luka. Now, if they have to play someone like the Bucks, then it might be a little bit harder matchup-wise. But I don't see Dallas moving off of Wood at this time. I know there's rumors out there. For everything that's in play, the Spurs have every reason to move off of Pertl. And the Nets have every reason to move off of at least 2 of their shooters.
I agree.
Patty Mills as well. Maybe Patty Mills wants to go home and play with Popovich before he retires. That's something that could happen.
I feel like Markieff
actually
Morris
genius.
coming back. You guys mentioned him. I think that's going to be important too.
Yeah, why?
Because I feel like you just asked it. I feel like that is kind of one of those like role player type pieces that they need that are going to be important to come off the bench, because right now they don't have like a really I guess a really good big man, right? It's Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal. They're all, they're good they're good decent players, but they're not a championship level, like, oh yeah, like that's going to be my big going into the championship. They're not that type of player yet. None of them.
We don't have the money to have a big time big. Sorry to cut you off there, Will.
No.
There's no money left in that well.
Yeah.
If you're Brooklyn right now, so your only option is to get kind of a mid-level guy.
I feel like Markieff Morris, so he's a little bit on that big side. He can rotate in with them and kind of keep them all fresh. And I think that if they can't pay a really good star big man, I feel like at least getting another one in the rotation that's solid and that can rotate and keep them all fresh. I think that can at least make up for that lack of a star big.
Yeah, I think Markieff Morris isn't exactly going to be the understudy for Nick Claxton. He's kind of a brute shooter type, pretty solid passer, but I wouldn't describe him necessarily as a big. You know what I mean, right? There's some guys that are like tall.
He's a 4.
Yeah, he's a 4. But playing that center position on the Nets, I think it's vital if you're not as much talented, but just disciplined and know your role. When you have these two guys on your team that are generational talents, and then Ben Simmons coming along who can dish the ball, rebound. The guy could do anything on the court besides score. I mean, Ben Simmons is probably one of the best players in the league if you take out the scoring element. He's just unbelievably strong for the team. He leads them with 6 assists and 6 steals in 1.5. I mean, the guy can rebound as well. You just need a center that can just do stuff. Like they can just do what he needs to do. Nothing more.
Some said Ben at the center solves a lot of your issues in a small lineup. Well, why no?
Yeah.
If you're playing small and you have shooters, putting Ben at the
that.
center might work.
Because I think that Ben Simmons lacks the size to really,
But again, you're not looking for it in terms of him to score in the paint. You're just looking to get him in the paint to then find someone on a kick out.
Some of the best court vision in the league.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I feel like him. Think about it this way: they're playing the Bucks in the playoffs. If Ben Simmons is your starting center, you're gonna have a lot of trouble
against Brook Lopez.
And Giannis,
I'd let Brook Lopez score all day if it means Ben Simmons can get kickouts on the perimeter to get 3-pointers from KD and Kyrie.
Agreed.
I think that's the
but
sacrifice.
then who's
you
gonna
make.
match up with Giannis?
Doesn't matter. You accept going into that series that Giannis is going to be Giannis. You're not going to stop Giannis.
But then who are you gonna stick at least on him?
You're going to have to stick Simmons. It's going to be zone. They're going to play zone. There's no way they're going to play man-to-man against Milwaukee unless I'm losing my marbles here. I don't see a situation where they want to go up man-to-man against Giannis Antetokounmpo. You don't want to do that against Joel Embiid. There's not a situation, unless you have Marcus Smart or another really great defender, Rudy Gobert in the paint, that you're going to want to go 1-for-1. They're probably going to put some form of a zone together, in which case having someone with Simmons' reach isn't the worst thing in the world, and having Claxton there isn't the worst thing in the world. And at one time, Ben Simmons was a highly coveted defender.
Yes.
He was making the case for Defensive Player of the Year. So I'm fine with having him give Giannis a crack, see what happens.
Colin, I got to give you Jock Vaughn's number or something. Let you guys talk this out because I think that's an actually excellent idea. If you can get Ben Simmons in the paint to kind of be a little bit of a decoy, you got 42% shooting from 3, Seth Curry. You got Yuta shooting 52%. You got Markieff Morris who's shooting 48%. That's not even saying KD and Kyrie. I mean, you're so right. I mean, if he can go in there, rebound the ball, which he knows how to do, he leads the team in assists. He obviously has the best court vision, maybe in the Eastern Conference. He can get these guys the ball and put points in the basket. Right. Colin, I love it.
I would say this: if you put him at the 4 with Claxton, I think that works fine. I just feel like him
kind of is that now, right? Sort of.
Well, now Simmons it's quasi Simmons will bring the ball up the court on offense, but yet in defense, like I'm talking about, it's often that zone.
I just don't like the idea of him completely playing center because I feel like over time, the fact that he's not, as big and, as tall as some of the other centers in the league, I think that might cause some problems on the board. Because think about it. If he's usually used to bring up the ball, kind of playing the 4 sometimes, he's not really as much in that big man role as a center.
But what we're saying is he's not going to play that big man role. He's going to be more of a decoy. He's going to be able to be a flex 5-4-ish kind of guy, and then that'll leave the middle open. He's a skinny guy and a tall guy, so he can look over shoulders and get those threes, like I said before, to Curry, Royce, all those guys that can score. I think you're right in the fact that he can't be a traditional center in the NBA, but I think that the amount that the game is changing with Giannis, Steph over the past few years, Ben Simmons can do the same down in the post.
You ever heard of the junior skyhook?
I never heard
Magic
it being
Johnson played center in Kareem's absence in the finals.
Yep.
And while he wasn't sized like a Kareem or a traditional center like an Olajuwon, who came in later in the 80s, he could pass from that position. So the matchup worked for LA's favor. So I get what you're saying. I disagree. I respect it because I think it's coming from a place where you're looking at it in terms of positions, right? Who sizes up where. But if you want to look at the Nets as a positionless basketball team, potentially putting Simmons there might end up working somewhat. Whether or not you do it for the whole game, different conversation. I think they could look at it in a case-by-case basis, but it's worth a shot, especially if you're competing like this to where you're second in the East.
It might be worth a shot. I guess for a short period of the game, they could give it a shot. Right now, they don't have too much to. They do have something to lose, obviously, but right now they're in the second seed. It's not like they're fighting for a seed or anything like that. They can give it a shot for a few minutes a game and see how it works.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like it might be a bit of a struggle. Even it's not your favorite situation. That's what I'm trying to say.
Never a dull moment with the Brooklyn Nets. Their next game tomorrow night, 6 o'clock